So this time, what do you think of the budget? What's your overall perception?
There's a shift this time is what I feel. There is a allocation to Polavaram project, 5,900 crores.
Right.
What do you think of
This Bihar theme?
Yeah, there's a lot of comment on that, right? She's wearing a Madhubani sari, and that's sending out a signal. And Prime Minister Modi probably knew something when he said Ma Lakshmi will...
Yeah, will bless the middle class and the poor. Yeah, I think it's a very balanced budget, and but at the same time, they have managed to give this 1 lakh crore for Aam Aadmi. Hi Raghu. So I think with this budget, we've been through nearly 30 budgets together as journalists in business.
Hi Aarati, yes, that's about 30 budgets in our life. But it's every budget has been very different from the other in many ways, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
So usually when the speech starts, we are eagerly waiting. Then there is part A, and everybody is waiting for part B, and that's where the surprise or the disappointment comes, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So this time, what do you think of the budget? What's your overall perception?
There's a shift this time is what I feel over the last few budgets. If you see, the trend in the last few budgets has been to go big on public expenditure, especially capital expenditure. And we had big outlays over the last 3-4 budgets. And the government has been outspending big time to compensate for the private sector not investing. But this time, the subtle shift in strategy is that while capital expenditure is maintained at the same level as last year, they have gone big on giving a push to consumption. Over 1 lakh crore given away as tax breaks to the so-called middle class, which has been very upset and unhappy with this government.
Right.
You only have to see the memes that have been doing the rounds on the FM, and that's a clear indicator. So they have given this tax 12 lakhs up to 12 lakhs complete rebate. It's actually a move from 7 to 12 lakhs, actually an increase of only 5 lakhs.
Yes.
But 12 lakhs looks a big sum, and the slabs have also been adjusted. So that leaves quite a bit of disposable income in the hands of the taxpayers.
Right.
Now, you can ask me whether these are the people who go out and spend.
Yeah.
That can be argued. You can look at it in both ways. Because somebody who earns up to 15-20 lakhs will surely be either aspirational enough to buy a car, or buy a small flat and pay EMIs, or buy white goods. So for all that, this extra income is going to be beneficial. So that's one shift I see. But the best part is, even while she has shifted gears from public expenditure to boosting consumption, the conservatism of the overall budget remains.
Yeah.
The numbers are not out of whack.
Yeah, that was my next question. Are the numbers believable? Because budgets are, after all, just what projections the finance ministry makes. So I remember in earlier years, there used to be very little connection between the actuals and the budget numbers. So are they believable?
I think so. She's assumed a GDP, nominal GDP growth of 10.1% and tax revenue growth of 10.9, 10.8%, which I think 1-to-1 is fine. Where I suspect they will run into trouble is in the micro numbers. Like you did some analysis in the corporate.
So if you break down those overall revenue projections, corporate tax, they're expecting about 10.1% growth. That seems doable because 10.1% is exactly the nominal GDP growth that they're assuming. And perhaps companies will manage 9 to 10% growth next year, FY26. So that should be possible. But personal taxation, they're assuming 14% growth.
Correct.
Now, I was wondering, after giving away 1 lakh crore on concessions, can you still manage 14%? I think it's a little iffy there. Unless they are hoping compliance will improve because rates have come down or things like that.
Yeah, but I'll have to also point out another number there. 14% compared to revised estimates. But if you look at the revised estimates versus the budget estimates of last year, it's only a 5.89% increase. That is, collections are up only 5.89% over what was budgeted. And the budgeting itself was conservative last year. So when your actual collections last year grew only by 6%, this year projecting 14%, that is a bit of a... But there are shock absorbers in the system, so to say, like in non-tax revenues, right?
Correct.
RBI dividends,
Right.
they're projected
2.5 lakh crore.
2.56 lakh crores compared to 2.34 last year. And I think that's a believable number. Maybe it may even be higher than that from all you know. So I think 2.56 lakh crores is a believable number. You will have to wait and watch how things go on the economy.
Right. And the good thing is they've removed the disinvestment as a line item. And
Exactly.
because that is the most iffy part of this non-tax revenues.
Correct.
Because based on how markets perform, it
Correct.
may or may not be achieved. So
Correct.
that they no longer budget for very explicitly. So I think this is one more thing that adds to the credibility of the numbers.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what do you think of the schemes on various schemes, the outlays?
Yeah.
Like it's gone very high on some things like PM Ayushman Bharat.
Yeah.
It's up almost 24%.
Perhaps because recently they included senior citizens under the ambit of this, and they said that all senior citizens will get a cover under Ayushman. Maybe that is why they had to supplement these outlays. And the other one was Jal Jeevan Mission, very large increase in
isn't
compared
it?
to Aarati.
Yeah. But are they really going to spend that kind of money on laying pipes and getting water into homes?
Going by last year, I don't think so, because the last year the expenditure undershot the budget by a very big margin.
Yeah. So it's probably again a shock absorber in the system.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if there is some other scheme where the actual expenditure increases is substantially higher than the outlay, then this will absorb the slack.
Yeah.
Right?
So one thing we've seen repeatedly is fertilizer subsidy is the wild card.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of the year, they'll provide for something, and then later the global prices go here and there, and then they have to actually supplement it quite a lot. So I think it could serve as a shock absorber for such things actually.
Yeah. But the markets have been rather unhappy. What do you think is the reason for that?
I think a little bit of over expectation. I feel within the fiscal deficit constraints that we had, this 1 lakh crore increase in personal tax giveaways of 1 lakh crore is pretty good in my opinion. I think the markets also in the last, since COVID, they've been running also on this, a lot of these PSU stocks, this capex stocks and things like that. And this capital expenditure of the government actually flatlining this year. Perhaps that comes as a bit of a disappointment to the markets. But I feel that is a juggernaut that cannot go on and on. The private sector does have to take up the slack at some point. So
Correct.
I feel that this there was a bit of a froth in these PSU, defense, railway kind of PSUs and all. And I think that is...
But do you think this increase in capital gains on FIIs from 10 to 12.5, that probably also disappointed the markets?
You can read it two ways. I mean, it is a sentimental negative because FIIs have already been on a selling spree. And in many major markets around the world, they don't actually tax FIIs on capital gains. So India is an outlier there. And they've increased that also, sending a signal that, hey, we want to bring about parity between domestic investors and you. We are not going by current circumstances of flows being weak.
But isn't it interesting that they're doing it at a time when flows are weak, FIIs are selling, and the rupee is under threat, and yet they said, we don't care, we'll increase the capital gains, let's see what you do.
Maybe they're hoping FIIs will sell less because they don't want to pay the tax. I don't think it works that way though.
Also, do you think the markets were expecting some adjustment in capital gains from correction of what happened last year?
Yes, there were a lot of wish lists even from the Mutual Fund Association and also from stockbrokers and all, asking for the capital gains tax to be reduced or for indexation to be restored. But I feel those were slightly unrealistic expectations, right? Because once the government has talked of simplification, they won't roll back those kind of measures.
Correct. Yeah. What do you think of
this Bihar theme?
Yeah, there's a lot of comment on that, right? She's wearing a Madhubani sari, and that's sending out a signal, and then 4 or 5 proposals, right? New airports in Bihar and
the Makhana mission. Yeah.
And the Mithilanchal.
Yes.
That's a little interesting.
Greenfield Airport also.
Right? So considering that it's Bihar elections in the next few months. So they're not even trying to be subtle about it, right? Yes. Actually, this year also Andhra Pradesh is there. There is I was just looking at the schemes. there is a allocation to Polavaram project, 5,900 crores.
Right.
And last year, in the last budget, there was no allocation at all. But they ended up spending 5,500 crores still. So this year they provided another 5,900. So total of almost 11,000, 12,000 crores in just 2 years for Polavaram. That's also probably alliance partners.
Yeah, politics of the budget.
Yeah.
Right.
But on the whole, it's quite a quiet budget, right? In many ways, nothing for anybody to complain about in a big way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, very sensible numbers, and
Yes.
one hopes that things will work out in terms of getting them the revenues, right?
Correct. Yeah, I think it's a very balanced budget, and no knee-jerk kind of reactions also to all these memes and feedback that you're getting. But at the same time, they have managed to give this 1 lakh crore for Aam Aadmi, which should keep him reasonably satisfied, I think.
Prime Minister Modi probably knew something when he said Ma Lakshmi will...
Yeah, we'll bless the middle class and the poor.
I think it's time to get going with our production right now.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
All those pages are waiting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See you. Nice talking to you, Aarati.
Same here.
Bye.
Bye.